Hello and welcome to today's broadcast of Tap Into the Truth. With you as always, I am your ever so humble host, Tim Tapp, and I'm so glad that you are with us today. Thanks for listening. We're going to talk about a few things that happened today. Hope that you have still been following the show as we've been broadcasting primarily from BTR recently. Happy to be back here with the Spreaker family. I know some of you guys catch the show from both formats. Some of you guys don't. It's been a while since I've been here, though. In fact, I think Memorial Day was actually the last day I broadcast from here. I've been doing the BTR broadcast, though, doing the Sunday show. Had a pretty good show yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to listen, please feel free to follow up and give it a listen. Not going to rehash any of that, but we have, over the last 2 weeks, been talking about Rachel Dolezal and her transformation and her identification, and how in the end it's pretty obvious that she's just a lying lefty who was trying to take advantage of an opportunity. And the question is, should she be forgiven for that? Folks in the media seem to think yes. I, for one, tend to think that they've almost painted themselves in a corner, they being folks on the left. Because, you know, we're supposed to be accepting of self-identity. We're supposed to accept that people get to determine their reality, that there are no absolutes about gender, there are no absolutes about physical capability, in the case of the transabled. And now there are evidently no restrictions on your identity as far as your racial heritage. Although that's actually kind of the opposite that we have always been told before this specific occasion. Now, as I said, I've covered that over there, and I mentioned that for the folks that haven't been catching both broadcasts, so that you'll have an opportunity to go back and listen to the last 2 weeks as we evolved in following that story. I don't want to rehash that anymore moving forward. We also talked about in detail my complete and total awe that I am in regards to the people of Charleston, South Carolina, and how they have reacted to this horrific, criminal, heinous act of hatred and ignorance, and almost any other negative word you can add to it really seems to fit. This guy thinking he could start a race war, thinking it was inevitable, wanting to be the guy who actually kicked it off. So much wrong with this situation, and even more wrong with how the left is trying to politicize this. They want to rehash gun control, and now they've made this about the Confederate flag. And it's none of your business, if you don't live in the state of South Carolina, whether or not they still fly the Confederate flag. You don't have to like the flag. You can see it as a symbol of division, which in a lot of ways it was. It, after all, was the flag of a separate country. When the states decided, hey, I don't want to be part of those United States anymore, don't want to be part of the federation you're creating, want to be part of a confederation where the states have stronger rights. And, you know, the issues of slavery certainly have their role in that. And the bottom line is, for a great number of people, however, the Confederate flag represents Southern heritage just as much as any other symbol of heritage does, and that slavery makes up a very small part of that. The division between the North and the South makes up a very small part of that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to justify or be pro Confederate flags flying everywhere, but I am trying to explain for the people that see it one way that you have to understand that there are other people that see it a very different way, and they're not wrong. But to them, this Southern heritage is about being country. It's about being rural. It's about being southern. It's about being willing to stand on your own and stand apart. It has nothing to do with slavery, in so much as a majority of the people that support the Confederate flag waving high wherever were never amongst a group that would have been slave owners. Again, it doesn't necessarily make it right, but I'm trying to tell you it doesn't make it wrong either. People are allowed to see their heritage in a multitude of ways. And for a group of people in southern states, particularly members of the Confederacy at the time of the split, some of them still cling to the ideas not that we are a separate nation, not that the South will rise again, but just that this is a part of who we are. This is a part of where we come from. This is part of our past that we need to remember. And why do we need to remember our past, boys and girls? So that we aren't doomed to repeat it. It's a great reminder. Now, the symbol has been used as a form of intimidation during the Civil Rights Movement. That is a legitimate argument, too. And almost after the Civil War, well, the War of Succession, it's not really a civil war by definition. You doubt that? Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Use your brain and check that out for yourself. Do your own homework. It, by definition, wasn't actually a civil war because you didn't have two separate groups fighting for control of the same government. You had one group fighting for the right to leave the nation and form their own authority group. So it's not by definition a civil war. But, out of habit, and because of the way it's taught in public schools, that's how most of us refer to it. So, therefore, blah, blah. We're looking at a lot of people seeing this after this time period was over. The Confederate flag basically went away for a while. And then it was brought back by hate mongers, by racists, as a form and in an effort to intimidate during the Civil Rights Movement. And I get that too. And for a lot of folks, that's the image, and that is what is in their mind when they see the Confederate flag. So what I'm really saying is that just like with any other symbol, it can mean a lot of different things to different people. If it's offensive to you, don't look at it, don't fly it. But again, I remind you, this is the United States of America. Political speech is protected, even if it's offensive. And that proper application of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights basically guarantees that you will be offended at some time. I'm really not pro or con on flying the Confederate flag. And as far as the folks in South Carolina are concerned, if they're flying at their state capital, that's their business. I live in Tennessee. I don't get a say in that. I get to sit here and complain about the money that was wasted in designing a new logo for the state of Tennessee that the governor's office signed off on. And this big advertising firm came up with this great new logo. I think a second grader could have probably done a better job and spent $46,000 to design something that I really do think a second grader in an art project could have done better. Getting a little repetitious on that, but it just infuriates me. This happened several weeks ago, and I still haven't adequately discussed it or gotten it out of my system because this is just theft of taxpayer dollars that has been guaranteed and approved by the governor's office. And I haven't found myself at odds with Bill Haslam on a great many issues, but it seems like the longer into his administration we get, the more of these little things keep popping up that just flat out seems wrong. At any rate, like I said, I still have to commend the people of South Carolina for not falling into the same type of anarchy that we've seen in places like Baltimore and Ferguson and New York. They have met this through faith, and they have been shown love and forgiveness, and they have my respect at a level that I can't possibly even put into words, but I'm going to keep saying it. I said it yesterday several times. I started out praying for the people of Charleston, South Carolina when this happened. And since then, with what I've seen and how this has played out, the grace that these people showed, the faith that these people have shown, now I find myself hoping that they will pray for me. I don't think I could do what I've seen them do. If I had a loved one that passed at the hands of an unbalanced child, despite his age, I don't know that I could ever bring myself to truly forgive. I'd like to think that I could. I know for a fact it certainly wouldn't be the next day or the next week or the next month. It would be sometime down the road at best. I can say I would try. But we're talking about family members. We're talking about mothers. We're talking about a pastor who was the shepherd to a flock that was truly walking the path. And we've seen that because of their reaction. And they face bomb threats. People from the outside of this community still trying to agitate. And the left so desperate to make something out of this. Never let a crisis go to waste. Because the people are refusing to cooperate and do the things they want them to do. Well, then they're given very little choice but to try and stir up other things. The people of Charleston, South Carolina have been a shining example of not only what America should be and what Americans should be, but also people of faith regardless of the faith. But specifically, if you're a Christian, these folks, you cannot look at these people and not see that they are living their faith. Now, with that being said, I don't want to delve again in, because, we touched on this again on Sunday's broadcast over at BTR. So if you want to hear the things that I said in regards to that, please either go check out over at blogtalkradio.com, find the Tap Into the Truth show there, or go to tapintothetruth.com, and on past shows, the player has a show. You can find us at Spreaker. In fact, the Blog Talk version of the show, if you just want to browse, then go politics, it's news and politics, then go conservative, and then you scroll down and we're before Fox News Sunday. You can click us there, and you can listen to the last couple of weeks there. Of course, this broadcast also pops up over at Stitcher, but under a different feed, and you have to search for it. You also can find us at TuneIn. Now at tunein.com, both feeds merge together. So just find Tap Into the Truth there, and you can go past this show and pull back the others, and so on and so forth. We're at iTunes. This broadcast also pops up over at the YouTube page. So there's a lot of great opportunities here. Just follow it back if you want to hear the others, and that's enough self-promotion for the moment. Got some serious topics we really want to delve into a little bit later, not the least of which is the Pope said what? Which was exactly my reaction when I heard what he said, and we'll